Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back. Another installment of Scott's Selections here for Friday, September 13th. Before we get into today's play of the day, we'll quickly recap what happened yesterday. Unfortunately, we ended up picking up a loss with the Christian McCaffrey over 79.5 rushing yards, which was available at 5 dimes at minus 125. Wasn't really that close, to be honest. The whole game was absolutely terrible. All fantasy players in that game did nothing, with the exception of Peyton Barber and Chris Godwin, or so. Nobody did anything. Or if you had the Panthers kicker. But either or, we actually got a good number on it. We got it at 79.5, ended up closing at 5 dimes at 81.5, so at minus 125. So we actually did get a good number on it. Unfortunately, though, I don't even know how to dissect that game. That was just a complete travesty for all football right there. Both quarterbacks were terrible. I was right about Cam Newton being bad. However, for some reason, in a one-possession game in the pouring rain, which should have helped surgically repaired shoulder during the offseason, and yet they decided to throw the ball 51 times. Did McCaffrey do anything with the carries he got anyway? No, but I thought the play calling was terrible, and I definitely still like the play based on the fact that, it just didn't work out. Yeah, Johnny, I actually made a video with Scott Steen from Winners and Winers, and we actually talked about some NFL futures. The video ended up never airing due to some technical glitches, but I actually recommended the Panthers under 8 wins as well, as I simply just think this team is terrible. This team has lost I forgot what it was. Cam's lost his last 8 starts, I think, give or take. He just isn't that good. I know he still doesn't look like he's at 100%. And I know that Ron Rivera claimed that the non-QB sneak on 4th and 1 in the end, instead of running that god-awful fake Philly special, whatever that was due to had nothing to do with the fact that Cam Newton was injured. I call BS on that one. I think Newton's injured. I think that if he was healthy, they would have simply just told him to jump over the top. Either or, I would continue to fade him moving forward. He has no mobility. He's an inaccurate passer to begin with. I think the Panthers are going to absolutely implode, and I think they could end the year 5-11. I think they're that bad. But either or, props to the Buccaneers for standing up. And yeah, I was going to say, Johnny, I know that he injured his leg in a preseason game against New England, and nobody seemed to report about it because nobody really cared. I don't know. I think Cam Newton's an overrated quarterback anyway. He had one MVP year. If you look at his numbers besides that 1 year, he's been pretty average, to say the least, with low completion percentages across the board. But anyway, I'm going to forget about that game on Thursday night, as that game looked like a glorified scrimmage, as neither team had any idea what they were doing in offense. And then Bruce Arians calls 2 timeouts in the last back-to-back plays for a penalty. So that was also cherry on the top. But overall, we're actually going to transition back to college football because talking NFL is kind of hurting my brain a little bit. So based on that, we're actually going to be talking about a matchup between the Kansas Jayhawks and the Boston College Eagles, which should be taking place at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Spread in this game has gone up for Boston College, who are currently favored at roughly 22 points, give or take. I'm actually going to pull up the exact number on that. Yeah, they're favored by 20, actually. Right now, it's at 20.5 in Bovada. But instead of taking the full game, we're actually going to be taking the first half minus 11, which is available at Bookmaker at minus 110. And talking about terrible play calling and offense, I introduced none other than Les Miles here with the Kansas Jayhawks in his first season, trying to rebuild that program from scratch. So far this season, not good. Am I surprised? No. Kansas has been the punching bag of the Big 12 for many years, and now Les Miles inherited a bunch of terrible recruits before he's able to bring in his own guys. So far this season, they beat FCS opponent Indiana State 24-17, and they lost outright at home to Coastal Carolina by a score of 12-7 last week. For me, I don't think Kansas is going to score. They don't have many weapons to speak of whatsoever. Stanley's an average to below average quarterback. He's not great. Herbert's an okay running back, nothing special. I don't really think that they bring anything to the table. I think Boston College at home should be able to limit Kansas to, I'd say, roughly 10 points in the entire game. You know that a team's bad when their first half team total is over or under 7 because the books are daring you to see if they can get into the end zone or not. I don't think Kansas will. I think Kansas could kick a field goal or two. Boston College has actually been great on offense so far this season. Scored 35 points against Virginia Tech in the first game of the regular season. Scored 45 points against FCS opponent Richmond. I know that doesn't sound that impressive, but if you've actually looked at their first halves, Boston College has actually come out very aggressive And Boston College scored 28 points in the first half against Virginia Tech, and they also scored. Let me pull up the exact number. They scored 35 points in the first half against Richmond. I know that Kansas should be a little bit better than Richmond, but honestly, Kansas is probably one of the worst teams in the FBS. And the fact that Boston College has scored at least 20-something points in the first half of both of those games makes me believe that they should easily cover this first half number of 11. Kansas will be looking to get a field goal in the first half. Boston College on a Friday night at home. I expect the fans to be going nuts. They also don't have to worry about a look-ahead spot as they play Rutgers next week. So it's not going to be like they are going to take it easy on Kansas early on because they are focusing on a bigger matchup up ahead. Rutgers is terrible as well, so Boston College should look to put the pedal to the metal on this one. And I think that Boston College should enter halftime with at least a 2-touchdown lead. So I can see the first half going somewhere in the realm of 17-3, maybe even 21-7, something like that. But I definitely think that Anthony Brown and A.J. Dillon should do their part with Boston College, and I think that Kansas will have no answers. A.J. Dillon is still possibly one of the best running backs in the country, and I definitely think that Kansas is not ready for his physical brand of football. And Anthony Brown, after struggling with his accuracy so far in his career, he's still 23 of 40 so far this season, which isn't that accurate, but he does have 5 touchdowns and 438 yards, and he also does possess some dual threat mobility, so I think that he should be able to improvise if needed, if Les Miles' defense is able to stifle the original play call. So for that reason, the play of the day will be on Boston College, first half, -11, which is available at Bookmaker at -110. In terms of the other plays on today's card, looking at the entire board, I was tempted to give out Wake Forest, as I think that -3 is a little bit too much value there for the home team, especially at -105, pretty much market wide. However, North Carolina has been one of those teams that's been unpredictable so far, as they beat South Carolina, even though Bentley got injured, and I don't really think South Carolina was that good. They came back from a 15-point deficit to beat South Carolina in the fourth quarter. Then they blew a massive lead against Miami, and then they ended up rallying to score a game-winning touchdown in the last minute. Props to Mac Brown for rebuilding this program. At the end of the day, do I really think this North Carolina team is that good? No, not really. I mean, Miami's 0-2. Their offense hasn't been great, to say the least. Their kicker's terrible. So I don't really know how much to buy in on that one. And South Carolina, Bentley did nothing to impress me in week 1. Props to Mac Brown for getting up for the rivalry game, but they ended up playing one game in a neutral and one game in a neutral in North Carolina, and another game at home. So now they have to travel on the road to play Wake Forest. I don't really like that spot for me. Wake Forest also off of a long week after being able to play Rice on, I believe it was Friday night, and North Carolina had to play Saturday night. So Wake Forest did have an extra day to prepare. Money's come in on the over. It was at 62.5. It's up to roughly 65, but it's still available at 64.5 at some spots. I'll lean to the over 64.5, and I have to lean to Wake Forest on that one at -3. They're 2-0. If you watched them against Rice last week, their defense didn't look good, but Newman's definitely a very solid quarterback, and he has a lot of weapons at his disposal on the outside. Their lack of a run game concerns me a bit, but I think Newman should be able to do enough offensively to outduel Hell, and I think that Wake Forest should win this game somewhere in the realm of 38-34, give or take. I think it'll be close, but I think Wake Forest should be able to cover. Boston College, I'll link to them on the full game, but the main reason why I liked them as first half chalk is because this is definitely a backdoor case scenario where Boston College can easily go up 27 or so, or go up something like 24, pull all the starters with like 5 minutes to go, and then Kansas pulls together a drive in the last minute or so. So for that reason, I don't really like the full game here. If you're laying 20, you want to make sure that there's some rivalry here, or you want to make sure that there's some motivation for Boston College or the team you bet on to run up the score. Against Kansas, running up the score doesn't do anything because everybody can run up the score against Kansas if they want to. But I know that Boston College will definitely look to get out to an early lead on Friday night at home. So that's why we're going to take the first half instead. Glad you like the play, Jamal. Glad you like the play also, Johnny. Hopefully we can cash this one together. And in terms of the late game between Washington State and Houston, my advice to you, instead of betting, get a beer and sit down on the couch and laugh at how bad the defense is going to be, because this game will be high scoring. I know money's coming on the under a little bit. It was at 74.5. It's at 73.5 right now. There's no way you can convince me to take the under in this game. Washington State's going to throw the ball 60 times. Gordon's been great so far. I know they haven't played anybody, but he has been very solid. And King is still a very solid dual threat quarterback for Houston. He showed glimpses against Oklahoma. He struggled a bit though as Oklahoma's improved defense definitely found out a way to limit him. I don't think Washington State will do a good job stopping him. But for me, I think this game will get into the 80s for me. I expect one of these teams to score at least 48, 49 points. I would take the over. So am I going to bet on it personally? Maybe. But overall, in terms of what I would do, I would simply, if you really wanted action on a Friday night, I would bet the over, kick back, open up a beer, and just chill on the couch and enjoy some offense, because that's how I expect this game to go. So for that reason, I'll lean to the over, as I simply do not trust either defense to make enough plays for this game to go under. Other than that, though, in terms of baseball leans, haven't really been focusing much on baseball. I know we ended up cashing on the Dodgers team total a couple days ago, but overall, as a Yankees fan, we pretty much wrapped the division about, 3 months ago, so I haven't really been paying much attention. I still watch the Yankee games, but in terms of betting lately, the Brewers I know have been rolling. Do I like him as an underdog spot? Wainwright's been great at home, but I think I would have to lean to the Brewers. Do I like them? I'm not going to bet them with my own money. Never again. But overall, Milwaukee's been rolling, Chicago's been slumping, and Milwaukee's currently in possession of the second wildcard spot. St. Louis pretty much has wrapped up. I want to say they wrapped up the division because I really don't think Milwaukee or Chicago will catch them. I know that in terms of games left to play, there's still a decent chance, but St. Louis was able to beat the Rockies over the last 2 days. Do I think that the Brewers are locked to win? Not by any means, but I think there is value there at a plus underdog price. Other than that, though, looking at the rest of the card, I have to lean to the Mets here. I know Kershaw's been great, but he has been struggling lately, and the Mets have been rolling. They have inserted themselves back into the NL wildcard race, and they need to take advantage of every opportunity they have. Dodgers, I know that they're still competing, but at the same point, they've pretty much clinched NL home field. They're still fighting with the Astros and the Yankees for a World Series home field advantage, but they clinched the division. They clinched the home field throughout the National League pretty much already. So I don't think motivation is completely there, and I like the way the Mets have played lately. So I'll lean to the Mets in the Syndergaard versus Kershaw matchup. Other than that, though, looking at the rest of the betting card, what else do I like here? I'll lean to the over 9.5 between the White Sox and the Mariners. I wrote an article on that one. Covey's winless on the road. He's got over a 14 ERA since the All-Star break. Kikuchi was decent his last start against Houston, but his ERA on the road this season, his ERA at home this season is still over 5. So I don't really like either pitcher. Plus, Seattle's bullpen blew a lead yesterday and gave up, I think it was roughly 8 runs yesterday against Cincinnati. So this bullpen's bad. Chicago's bullpen is below average. I think you should see a decent amount of runs. Lean to the over in that one. But before we conclude today's video, though, quick reminder of our sponsor, PointsBet, all-in sportsbook in New Jersey. A couple of great deals for you. Up to 2 risk-free bets up to $1,000. If you're betting on any sports and end up losing, you simply get your money back, which is a great promotion I wish more sportsbooks would use. Play of the day, once again, is going to be on Boston College first half, -11, which is available at Bookmaker at -110. Other than that, though, that's going to do it for this installment of Scott Selections here for Friday, September 13th. Good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.